Welcome to Doing Justice Brings Joy, the podcast rooted in the work, the witness, and the world we're organizing to change. We break down the policies, the structures, and the stakes behind the fights for housing, dignity, and freedom, tracing the line from scripture to strategy, from community demands to the decisions made in City Hall and beyond. Because justice is a discipline, joy is a mandate, and none of this work is done alone. And the story isn't finished until justice speaks. And we stay on it until the evidence is heard.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy. I want to apologize because I was talking my head off last week and I did not realize y'all didn't put a note in the comments that you couldn't hear me. So this week, I'm going to rerun the slide deck because what I talked about was so important. We have this chance to save our rights, and I want to make sure that we do something instead of talk about justice, that we do justice. So bear with me and be kind. And put something in the comments if you hear nothing, say something. And let me know if you can see what I'm adding to the stage. Give me a thumbs up. Put something in the comments, and we're going to kick off this week's conversation about voting rights and making sure that we have early vote sites that are meaningful for our folks. So bear with me as we try to make this happen. So right now, we're living through another chapter in a long familiar story where powerful institutions try to shrink the political power of Black voters and where we refuse to disappear. That's been our history, and we're going to keep that going. So here's a chart, a history of suppression and resistance. And I want us to focus on the resistance part. From Reconstruction to Jim Crow, from the Wilmington coup d'etat of 1898 that took place again, the war and the battles for freedom often begin right here in North Carolina. Modern voter day laws. North Carolina has always been the testing ground. Need to understand that. North Carolina has always been the testing ground for voter suppression. But the other thing you really need to understand is that every single time the people of North Carolina, the Black people in North Carolina, have organized, strategized, and pushed democracy forward, I want you to understand that George White's speech about the phoenix rising from the ashes. You can burn the house down, you can burn us down, but we will rise like a phoenix every time. Every time. In 2016, a federal court said the quiet part out loud. it said that North Carolina legislators targeted Black voters with almost surgical precision. That's historical record, recent history, 2016. The maps we are working on right now, that wasn't a metaphor. That was intent, and we need to remember that. There'll be those who say, hey, we don't have any evidence of a history, but in North Carolina we do. So now the Supreme Court is making it harder to prove discrimination, harder to challenge the maps, harder to protect minority districts. Hey, this is not new. Hard does not mean impossible. What they've done is not surprising. What they've done, this is not the first time the law has been used as a weapon instead of a shield. But history has receipts, and those receipts say we don't stay down, that we are not defeated, that we move forward. I'm going to talk a little Bible to you, remember. I'm going to talk a little bit Bible to you right now. In Exodus 14:15, when the Israelites stood at the Red Sea and danger was behind them and uncertainty was ahead of them, you know what God didn't say? God didn't say, wait. God didn't say, wait till I get there. God didn't say, it's not your time yet. God didn't say, weep. God didn't say, worry. God said, tell the people to move forward. Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward. Forward is the command. Forward is the discipline. Forward is the strategy. Not because the path is clear, but because God who walks with us makes us the way, a way where there is no way. You don't get to necessarily see the path forward, but you must continue to move forward. This is not the season for lamentation. This is the season for movement. This is the season for strategy. This is the season for getting back up like Rocky in the 12th round, bruised, tired, but absolutely unwilling to stay down. We fall down, but we get up. We've been knocked down before, but we have never stayed down. The ballot is our seed. This moment demands movement, And paralysis is not an option. We don't have that option. So what do we do, Stella? What do we do? When you say move forward, how do we move? First of all, we need to monitor early voting plans. We can do that now. We don't have, if we wait until it's election day or early vote starts to find out where our voting window is, we've already messed up. County boards can cut hours and locations. So we need to monitor early voting plans, flood public comment periods, demand campus early vote sites. The children at A&T have fought the good fight, and we need to stand with them and fight with them as they try again to get voting sites on campus. We need to track every proposed change, and we need to mobilize turnout at Board of Election meetings. There is a practical kit that Common Cause North Carolina has. They are looking for volunteers. They have a whole schedule of events. I've got their website crawling at the bottom. So what do I need you to do? I need you to know your state's early voting window before election day. The date shifts, stay ahead of every change. Identify the polling sites and every option that you have. Set alerts, sign up for notifications on polling place changes. Be the first, not the last to show up. Don't be that person that goes to their voting site at 6:45 and the polls close at 7, only to find out that your polling place has changed and is 15 minutes away. Share widely what you know, and let's do this. I want you to start documenting the suppression in real time. Record long lines, closed sites, and equipment failures with timestamps. Report to 866 Our Vote or Election Protection Hotline immediately. Share documented incidents through legal advocacy channels. Know your rights. You can observe and report without interfering. You can observe and report without interfering. Every documented incident becomes evidence. Courts now require proof of intent. So we gather it. We're going to record these long lines, capture any ID issues that come up, document provisional ballot problems, and collect affidavits. Those are the legal people out there. You're going to get your training from where? CommonCause.org. North Carolina. Got to put that North Carolina behind it because they got Common Cause fighting this fight everywhere. But our team got a toolkit. They are ready. They've got dates, times, and locations where we need to be and what we need to be doing. And we've got to expand voting ID support. There's so many different attacks on voter ID, and we have to make sure that every voter has the ID they need to qualify to vote. If you have been voting for over 10 years and you got something in the mail from the Board of Elections saying that you need to come in and fix your registration, that's not fraud. You need to go and fix it. Because there are new requirements that you have to show your birth certificate or social security number in order. It has to be on your voter record. And those of us who've been voting and not missed a vote since 1979, we are required to go in and update our forms. If you've lived in the same house for over 10 years and you've been regularly voting, you probably need to go and update your voter registration now rather than later. So check on your neighbors, check on the elderly, especially Black elderly women who always vote, because we don't want, this is the group that they're trying to get undone. So make sure that we do the best that we can with that. Again, I'm going to refer you to the Common Cause for more information. So strict ID laws are here. And what are we going to do? We're going to have ID clinics. They'll be all over the state. So find the voters in your network who lack qualified ID. Let's get them that qualified ID by getting transportation to your DMV to get them the free state ID. You can get it at DMV offices. I know the lines are way long. And the reason they're long is everybody needs to have their driver's license have to be updated so you can get on a plane. But you can also go to your local Board of Election office. They will issue you an ID and update your registration at the same time. So let's have some ID clinics. Let's work with our local boards to see if they're willing to set them up in your communities. Let's have poll monitors trained to help voters cure ID issues and identify them. But we don't want anybody actually showing up on election day. We want people to be able to help cure it, but the best thing is prevention. So prevention is very important. We want to escort people, get transportation, have your church set up let's get our IDs checked day, where everybody at the church goes down to the Board of Elections and gets their IDs updated. Make sure their voter registration is correct. And those who are not registered to vote, get them registered to vote. Let's make this a church activity. And Souls to the Polls starts with being registered. So let's have Souls to the Polls, a prayer meeting on Wednesday. Take them down to the Board of Elections. Let's think about different ways we can use our networks to fight the voter suppression. They don't want us to vote. Does that mean they're making it hard to vote, but they're not making it impossible? If we organize and strategize, we can do this. And we need to protect our children. Our students are the prime targets of this voter suppression. Young voters can change this election. There were 41 million eligible young voters aged 18 to 29 in the United States. They're the largest potential voting class in the country. And we have in North Carolina the infrastructure for change. We have 11 HBCUs, 16 university, public universities. We have a total of 27 HBCUs and public universities that we can organize and galvanize those young people to get them to vote. And that's not even counting all of the private schools and junior colleges that we have in North Carolina that can be organized. That number doesn't include Elon or Duke or Wake Forest or Campbell, just to name a few of the private colleges that we have in the state. We need to organize these young people to vote. 50% of youth voted in 2020. And while that was a historic high, that's not sufficient. When other categories of voters are voting at 60 and 70%, that means there's at least a 20% gap in voter turnout by youth voters. So we need to register. We want students to organize themselves like those young people at North Carolina A&T University. They are a vanguard, and we all need to be fighting with them and for them. We need to, the time is now, right now, not tomorrow, to secure online campus voting polling sites and protect these students. And we need to build a semester by semester voter mobilization infrastructure so that we don't lose students once they graduate and we catch students once they enroll. We need pressure campaigns for on-campus voting sites. Today is May 15th. The comment period is open. I'm going to talk about that in a couple more slides. But I want to make sure that you do understand what we're talking about here. I talked a little bit about this, but I'm going to talk about it again. Faith-rooted coalitions. The Black church built this movement and it still leads it, but we need all congregations to be actively engaged. All congregations to be actively engaged, not just Black church, but the Black church is the best organized. Organized Sunday transportation to early vote sites after service. But right now we need you to turn souls to the polls to go and attend Board of Election meetings. We need you to bring souls to the polls to make sure IDs are in order. And we need you to think about using Wednesdays as a way to get people to actively check their registrations and actively attend Board of Election meetings, no matter what day it is, but make sure there's transportation from your church to get people to there. We need partnerships across denomination to make sure that we build broad coalitions united by a shared civic values that this country is founded on. We need civic sermons. We need clergy to connect faith with civic responsibility, making the pulpit a platform for democratic participation. I know that's a hard one, but we need that. We need to host cross-congregational strategy sessions on a quarterly basis and forge lasting partnerships beyond Sunday morning or Saturday service. Right now, the State Board of Election has a number of proposed rules, and the comment period to say no to this rulemaking begins today. And that's why I want to bring this to your attention. Rule .0102 would expand restricted areas around polling place entrances and limit how close organized gathering can be near a voting site. They're proposing to expand that from 50 feet to 100 feet. Rule .0104, sound amplification ban, prohibits loud noise and amplified sound, a la music sound systems, near voting sites. And, this targets the heartbeat of a lot of kind of get out the vote, voter protection efforts that have been successful over the past couple of years. So this would prevent singing, chanting, if you're doing social polls or you're Divine Nine line coming down the street chanting. It would prevent having the DJs play and making it festive so that people can come and vote and enjoy themselves as they participate in this progress. This is intentionally done to discourage voter participation by younger people and those that would be motivated by the type of activities that are associated with these get out the vote efforts. Rule .0103, electioneering zones. This restricts organized voter mobilization activity within designated perimeters around polling site. And this would curtail the community engagement at its source. We need to understand that these rules are intended to keep us from actively participating in this process. We need to understand that. I want us to understand that the filing period on these rules, I want you to go where? I want you to go back to, I want you to go to commoncause.org. They've got all the information you need about how to submit your public comments. Public comment period starts today. And there will be a public hearing on June 29th at 10 a.m. at 430 North Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. We are going to flood that place, okay? It's going to be standing room only, and we're going to have amplified sound. Okay? Public hearing, June 29th at 10 a.m., 430 North Salisbury Street in Raleigh. We're going to keep our eye out on Senate Bill S556, where rather than it just being a rule, we can defeat the rule and then they pass a law. So we need to pay attention to that too. We are under attack. Don't get that twisted. I'm going to see, y'all give me a second here. So I'm able to pull up the Common Cause website. So y'all give me just a second, and I will share my screen. So this is the Common Cause North Carolina website. Again, that's all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Is take action, join our movement. Let's see what their priorities are. Help protect the vote in North Carolina. Here's some training dates. Here are next steps. Here are tools. They got everything you need to do this election. I'm going to share a link in the comment section. I'll take you right to the spot. Here are the tools and resources. Got a blueprint for a stronger democracy report. They got a county commissioner budget meeting tracker. Make sure that they have enough money for voting sites. They have an election funding advocacy. Take a look, know what's going on in your county with the tax economic snapshots. Early voting plan tracker is an Airtable they have. They got a lot of materials on here. 79% of North Carolina voters support placing early voting sites on campus, including 91% of Democrats, 67% of Republicans, 79% of unaffiliated. 74% of North Carolina voters support providing Sunday voting options during early vote. That's 86% of Democrats, 56% of Republicans, and 78% of unaffiliated. There is overwhelming support for Souls to the Polls Sundays, and there's overwhelming support for there to be early voting sites. Yet the State Board of Elections is looking to pull back both of these. So we need you to go to the Common Cause, find out what to do, submit your comments. They have sample comments for you at the site. Submit your comments and attend that public hearing on June 29th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Every week until June 29th, I'm going to remind you, I'm not going to do this whole PowerPoint. We're going to be talking about other things, but this slide is going to come up every week from now on until we flood that public hearing and get rid of that. I will be monitoring and watching what's going on. We're North Carolinians. We're not afraid. We're not the first generation to face a Supreme Court that turned its back on justice. We're not the first to see our rights narrowed, our districts carved up, our voices discounted. But every time they try to silence us, we grow louder. Every time they try to shrink our power, we grow stronger. Every time they try to write us out of democracy, we wrote ourselves back in. If they don't want to give us a seat at the table, we'll bring our own chair. This is not the end of the story. This is the next round in the fight. And we are built for the long fight. So let's lace up, stand tall, get organized, be loud and proud. Let's get moving. Let's move forward. We're going to move forward together, not one step back, because as long as we keep moving forward, our votes will count, our voices will matter, and our future will be ours. Peace and blessings. Get your comments in. Let the battle begin. Thank you for watching this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy. And I want to, again, thank you for watching this. I apologize for not having sound. I had some sound issues last week, but not this week. So keep moving forward. Thank you for watching this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy.